Personnel items A, 1 to 20, B, 1 to 5, and C, 1 to 2.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? That's unanimous. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? That's unanimous. We will sit in adjournment to the next meeting at 5:30. Susie, you want those numbers just so you can confirm? Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the June 28th, 2022 call board meeting, the Forsyth County Board of Education, for our public hearing on the millage rate. If you'd all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag. We have an agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Motion by Darla.
Second.
By Lindsay. All in favor? That's unanimous. I just want to announce that Mr. McCall was not available to be with us tonight, and Mr. Tom Cleveland is out of town, but he is watching the public hearings being streaming. I'll take a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Motion by Darla.
Second.
By Lindsay. All in favor? That's unanimous. Mr. Atha, would you please come up and present?
Good evening. I'd like to present the FY23 tentative millage rate. As you know, Georgia law requires the school system to calculate and present a rollback millage rate for both maintenance and operation and for debt service. Those rates have been calculated, and the rates are as presented on the screen. For FY22, our current fiscal year, the M&O millage rate is 17.3. and the debt service millage rate is 2.418. For FY23, the proposed M&O millage rate is 17.3, and the proposed FY23 debt service millage rate is 1.418. The rollback rate for M&O is 14.925, and for debt service, 2.088 mils.
Thank you. This is our third hearing on this matter. We do have some speakers signed up. Is anybody here to speak that is not signed up on our sheet yet? Our first speaker is Mendy Moore. Ms. Moore?
Hi, I'm Mindy Moore. I wasn't planning to speak tonight, but there doesn't seem to be very many people speaking. And I know this is an issue that's very concerning to a lot of people in our community. They got their tax assessments recently, opened that bill, and were shocked. I'm hearing that most people had 20 to 30% increases. We, in my house, had a 43% increase in our tax assessment. That means that my tax bill for the education piece, because the others are covered and capped under a floating homestead exemption, is going to go up significantly. Almost $300 a month is what my payment is going to change in order to cover that. In fact, in February, when my tax bill's due, my escrow account's not going to have enough money in it. And so they're going to be looking for us to come up with this. I'm one of hundreds of thousands of homeowners who are in the same exact boat. And some of these people are worried about how they're going to afford that huge increase. When my husband and I bought a house, and we've been here since 2000, so 22 years, we sit down and we do a budget. And we figure out what is the mortgage payment that we can afford to pay. And that includes our taxes, and that includes our insurance. And so we come up with an amount. Well, every year it's gone up a little bit, but 43% is just way too much. What I'm asking from you all is to consider a floating homestead exemption on the education portion of our property taxes so that there is a cap on that each year, so that we are only paying 3 to 5% more a year. My employer didn't pay me 43% more this year. My husband's employer did not pay him 43% more this year. It is a very tough time to be asking for this type of increase, too, with the economy the way that it is. We're all trying to cut back. We're all trying to live within our means. It seems like a very reckless move for the Board of Education to increase their budget so drastically during this type of economic times when everyone else is being asked to tighten their belt, cut back on something. I mean, my family's going to have to come up with $300 a month that we're going to have to take out of our monthly budget. And yet, the Board of Education is spending a lot more. And I understand that we're adding new schools, we're adding new students, but from my understanding, the student enrollment increase is going to be about 1% next year, and yet there's a 4% increase in the spending on that. And so there's a lot of overhead that I think could have been scaled back on a year like this. Save that for a year when things are a little better, when the economy is a little better. And what happens when our property tax rates, our property tax values go back down? I mean, I'm an accountant, and I'm very conservative with the way that I look at money, and I would ask that the Board of Education do the same thing. Thank you.
The next speaker is Jesse Hagman. I was going to say, looks like that's
Hi. I wasn't planning at speaking at this portion because I expected more people to show up. But obviously a meeting that starts at 5 o'clock is very difficult for most people that are working to pay the bill that you just sent us to get here to do and say something public. It's convenient that 4 days ago I got my mortgage shortage balance for last year's increase. It's about $400 extra from the other years previous, which also still changed my monthly payments by $100 for this new calculated year, aka last year. That means next year, based on how you're doing your math, I'm going to get another shortage account question for another $1,000, which is then going to raise my bill another several $100s, just like the woman who was just speaking. You can play with math all you want. You can change your millage rate to 14.9 and then, or not change it and keep it at 17 and say, look, we're making the other debt service 1%. You're playing with minuscule numbers when you roll back that rate. The number that counts is the biggest part of our bill. If you don't roll our millage rate back to 14.9, you're asking for infinity numbers from other people to pay. You're increasing everybody's balance due to meet your needs instead of you going into your savings account, which has millions of dollars in it because you tighten your budget every year when you have these extended budgets. I saw the balance accounts online that are public record. You're not dipping into your savings to pay for these increases. We are. I only have a fraction of the dollars that most people have. Some people are lucky to have $5,000 in their savings account. How do you expect them to print money like you are? Because that's what you're doing. You're saying, give us more money. We got it. We need it. We need to improve. Forsyth County has the best schools in the state. We're in the top every year. You aren't being smart. You want good people in this county? Start protecting them instead of taking their money from them and forcing them to Dawsonville or Blairsville and all these other places. You want to have a good place to live? Start taking care of us instead of servicing your sparkly new things. That's all.
Thank you. That was our last speaker. Is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Motion by Darla, second by Lindsay. All in favor? Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?